You as a XRP holder may ask, why should I watch this video entirely? The price is not doing anything, but I would like to highlight two key charts for you guys. One is XRP BTC, another one is XRP Ether. Both of them give you one idea. Medium term RSI, long term MACD, the long term support range. Then you come to the XRP chart on a long term basis and you understand this. Yeah, we've been in this range, I agree, 0.7 to 0.8 for a long time. But we had volatility. We went down, we went up, we're still in that range. We're not at the bottom, we're still in that range. But if you look at this XRP to Ether chart, you can see, okay, we are trending to the downside all the way from 2017. But you see these small run up which you see here, that was major run up in dollar terms. Look at this one. This is February 2017, after which you had that March rally, followed by the second wave, and in the weekly chart it looks so small. But when you go on to the dollar chart for XRP, this is what happened afterwards. You see February 2017, and then the March, you continued higher, corrected, moved higher. So with respect to Ether, you are at that all-time low. So those who are accumulating in different exchanges based on Ether or BTC are watching this opportunity right now. You have the indicators showing you, even though the price is remaining in this bottom, RSI shows you the strength of buyers are increasing. People who are accumulating is increasing. They're not selling at this price point. Then you look at BTC towards that. So XRP BTC pair show you something similar. Just the difference is this time from this RSI bottom to the top, you have a lot of room. Fun. Great. You need to wade through that. But at the same time, you look at the MACD and it's at that range where we've been before the rally up. Now, the only difference here compared to that of Ether is we are not at that bottom. We went into that, but immediately we went above that and we are remaining above that. So that shows you the ability of XRP to move against these assets in the market. So now, yes, you do have to look at a lot of different stuff. Say short term, what do you expect XRP to do? Because some of these assets in the portfolio can do well. Some of them are consolidating, because if you have 10 assets, all of them are not going to move together. You kind of come to the market and you look at different assets. You see like, okay, the H bar is moving recently. You see Luna, Mana and others are slowly moving. When you go slide down, you see a lot of others are really slow, but they're still slowly grinding to the upside. So we do go through these, and we had these updates highlighting there is a possibility for this one to move up, and it did. So this is something which I want to highlight. If you want to look at these kind of stuff, you can say this is the last post which we made for H bar, and the price is moving based on that. Now, price action is something which you, I, and almost every one of us look forward to. Why? Because we get a little bit more idea about what that is going to do, say in short term, in long term. So we then highlight, okay, what's happening with that asset on our chart. If it's moving with that trend, you get to know, okay, this is the price action. We were anticipating this move, and right now you're there. Because say XRP BTC on a daily is showing you this stuff, right? Short term, so 4 hour we discussed, then daily it's like this. So all these possibilities are always there. You look at the price action, you understand what happened previously with the price. Say on a weekly, you got long wicks to the downside, showing sellers push the price down, but there were a lot of buyers who bought in whatever the sellers sold into the market. So that extra supply which came into the market were absorbed and the price were pushed higher. That is that long wick which you see. Now, you had something similar here, and the price came even into that bullish territory, showing that buyers and sellers, that war between them, buyers are winning as of now. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is bullish and it can move higher. So those who entered there are already in profits and they are moving up. And that's not the only one asset. we had a lot of other charts showing the same possibility and which are doing great now. So if you want those kind of updates for your portfolio, a lot of different assets, look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So now let's deep dive into these and understand what are the possibilities, because the market shows us a lot of different stuff. This is a short-term chart, say 4-hour XRP USD chart, where you can identify that the RSI is below this resistance, but we are slowly grinding to the upside. So if you look at the trend, we are moving higher, higher and higher. So that's actually positive news. Then you look at the trend line resistance. We are below that, but we are close to that. We are not way below that. We are close to that. So chances for us breaking to the upside is there. So the upside is just below, say, $1 or just above, say, 0.9 mark. And then possibilities are still there. You're going to come back and retest this range. But most likely, your RSI is to stay above, MACD is to stay positive. In that case, price is going to bounce higher. Now, unless you cross this range of 1.1, you're not, looking at a ton of volume coming into the market, because the previous resistance is still there. So you need to actually break above that one. And that's the reason why we are moving on to the daily chart from that 4-hour chart. Because in a daily chart, you can actually see this. There is a possibility which we just highlighted, right? You get this. Now, you need to actually digest this properly, because this is a long wick, as we discussed. Say we had the price come lower, but the bias just pushed it back up. But eventually, we came back to retest that range and moved higher. Now, when you dropped, here is your RSI. It didn't bottom. But here in this case, when it dropped with that wick, you bottomed there. From that moment, you're slowly grinding to the upside, right? Then you look at the MACD. Here, it didn't actually cross to the upside just after the long wick. As you can see, it actually tried, but it didn't happen. It got failed and it went to the downside. It actually crossed to the upside here after the retest. So now with this long wick here, you came down, but the MACD is crossing to the upside without that long retest of that 0.5, 0.6 mark. But here the price has actually reached like 0.69, and we didn't actually come back to retest that level. We are staying here with a bullish divergence in the RSI versus the price. So we have a chance that we are going to move towards $1. And then, as we discussed in the short term, we can actually come back down, right? So we were looking at this one. We move higher, we come back down. So daily also shows that's a possibility. Then you actually take a step again and look at, okay, what's the main scenario on a 3-day, weekly, which is kind of the macro outlook day. And you understand, like, okay, we have a resistance. We may move higher because right now we had the support, and RSI is at the support, prices at the support. It's slowly bouncing to the upside. You have a moving average in between, which would be acting as a resistance. But if you manage to break above that one, chances are you're going to reach there. But, unless you break this pattern, we are still going to be within this one. And we are staying inside this pattern for a long time, right? We've been there from April, and we are still consolidating. From that highs of $2, we are still inside this. So when you look at this on, support resistance layers, you can actually identify something and which is positive. You had this one range, you went above it, came back below, retested that, even gave a fake out, and then went above that, came back, retested it in the upside, then go through a lot, and then went above the overhead resistance, reached the next level and came back down. Then again went into it, bounced. So now we look at this one. You went through the first level of resistance, second level of resistance, came back to the original one. So first level of resistance, second you broke and you came back to the original one. Then grinded back to this one and slowly retested this bottom again. So if you look at this pattern, you kind of get to see, okay, we are kind of rhyming what we have done previously. Now, it's not just a month or two. We've been doing this all the way from 2020 March, right? We are doing that particular pattern over and over again. And this range right now is like 0.7 to 0.95. So what you just saw in the 4-hour chart is the short-term scenario, and what we just discussed here is the long-term one. So say right now, if you have confusion, you can kind of, okay, that's a lot of line, a lot of zones, remove that one. Just look at this. So here what you see is like, we had a wick, we went down, we came back, we had a wick, we went down. In the same range, when you went upside, you came back and had that wick. You went back, lowered, had that wick just below that. We call it spring in Wyckoff pattern, right? Then you're actually moving to the upside. Now we're coming back down, testing this range of that wick. So chances are high you're going to get supported. Why? Because when I look at the RSI just came to that support level. Each time you're reaching there, either you're being resisted and going down, or you're being supported and going to the upside. So that is a huge possibility which we can all identify there. Then, now we just discussed about the XRP BTC, XRP Ether on a grand scheme. Now in the same weekly chart, when you kind of zoom in to understand what's happening in last 6 months, last 1 year, and you're like, okay, fine. With that SEC issue, we dropped like minus 88% from the 200-day moving average. And even at this point, we are at minus 57. Which shows you the ability that if the price is going to move from here, you're going to get 100% move to the upside, which is not bad, right? And that in terms of dollar would be much, much higher because the Bitcoin value right now stands at $46,000. And if you're going to move against Bitcoin like this, you're going to get a breakout here in the RSI. You're going to get a bounce in the MACD, which all makes it again another bullish scenario. Now you zoom in again, you go into a daily chart and you're like, okay, I'm getting a bull flag. Now that crypto bull flag usually happens like this because, we all understand that, okay, we have different patterns. We do observe all of those. Say, for example, if you are looking at this, we usually get a flag pattern like this and then a move up, right? But in crypto, what we usually do is like, we go up, we come back down, we go up, and then it slowly used to be like this, a small cup and handle before we continue higher. So that scenario cannot be neglected because that usually happens here, right? Say this is your range of resistance there where you are kind of, hitting, slowing down, coming back up, and then giving a cup and handle pattern, breaking it to the upside. That's all happening when your MACD is showing you that it's being in an accumulation range, it's slowly trending to the upside, and then eventually you come back to your RSI and you're like, okay, fine, what's the RSI showing me on a short term? It's bullish. If we manage to break above this one, it's actually bullish. Now, that bullishness is not only in XRP BTC pair. When you go on, say, look at the macro or even zoomed in view for XRP, you are actually able to look at these stuff. Say, now, if you want to go to a small chart, which is like an hourly chart, which, usually the traders, short-term traders do, this is what we can actually easily eye at. Say, this is your resistance range where you are getting resisted again and again, and this is your bottom layout where you are getting supported. So the support is increasing each time, or in other words, when the price come back down, each time the buyers are like, okay, we may not go to this bottom, we would bounce before that, so I'm buying here. So that is what you're watching here. And right now this looks like that bull flag which we discussed just now. So that's an hourly chart. You can move out, you can look at 2 hour, 4 hour. It depends on what type of trader you are. Because if you're a short-term trader, which is a lot more riskier than investing, but you do get understanding about what the possibilities are. Now, if you are moving that, it's like 10% fluctuation after the break to the upside here. So short term, your risk is super high and your reward is not that huge unless you go leveraged. And leveraging means a long wick to the downside like this is wiping you out of the market. You lose your money. So if you ask me, I would actually suggest rather than doing that, try to be an investor, understand these and go in. Because say right now, if you look at different assets, say let's look at IOTA to Ether or IOTA to BTC and look at what's the market showing you right now, you see a ton of opportunity there too, right? You're at the bottom. You're at the bottom. Say instead of daily, you can go to the macro and see where you are and you are again at that bottom. So if you are looking at these, you're like, okay, fine. There is a possibility that the price is going to bounce from here, right? Because The price hit this bottom by 2020 December, and then you retested in 2021 Jan. But you look at the RSI, it's been moving to the upside, upside, upside. You look at the MACD, it's being accumulated, it's being moving to the upside, right? So the same stuff you're looking at is what you want there is a break of this top, which you can say as a resistance. So as you break this one, you're going to see these coins rallying, because the next resistance for this particular coin is going to be somewhere close to the 200-day moving average, heavy resistance, and that itself is like 3-4x versus Ether. So versus dollar, you're going to see 10-15x fluctuations. So these are something which we usually regularly check on for USD type of charts and then post here in the Patreon. So if you are looking at these kind of updates for a lot of different assets in your portfolio to understand whether we are moving up, we are moving down, what are we looking at, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. And guys, when you move into any asset, always make sure there is liquidity in that asset, and say if it's H bar you're moving into, you go into H bar and come down, look at the exchanges. Say if you are in an exchange where there is like little volume, even if the price goes up, you may not be able to take your profits. So always make sure you, for that particular asset in your particular exchange, has some volume. Otherwise, that's going to be super risky for you. So guys, I definitely believe you received value for your time. And if you did, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.